81,000 phones stolen? Nothing, you don't care?
If you want to write
If you want to write in, they say. Great.
Watch. Sadiq Khan, confronted by furious citizens, struggles to answer back. You're not going to believe what just happened in London. Sadiq Khan, the mayor of the capital, stood before a crowd expecting to deliver his usual talking points. But instead of polite applause, he was hit with a wall of frustration, citizens shouting, interrupting, demanding answers he simply couldn't give. The cameras were rolling. The microphones were live. And what should have been a carefully managed event turned into an open confrontation that left the mayor visibly rattled. This wasn't politics as usual. This was a community boiling over. And if you listen closely to the chants, the jeers, the words of those in the crowd, it tells you one thing loud and clear: people are fed up. The moment happened during a public Q&A session where Khan was meant to engage directly with Londoners. The topic on the table? Housing, transport, and safety. But it didn't take long before the audience turned. One young man stood up and asked why knife crime remains such a threat despite years of promises. Another shouted across the room, "How can you say this city is working when we can't even afford to live in it?" Every attempt Khan made to answer was met with pushback. The frustration wasn't whispered, it wasn't polite, it was loud, it was raw, it was personal. And here's the kicker: this wasn't just opposition hecklers. These were Londoners of all backgrounds, parents, students, workers tired of being told things are improving while their lived experience says otherwise. Here's the truth. Sadiq Khan has faced criticism for years. From rising rents to transport costs, from his air quality policies to crime in the streets. But usually, the criticism comes from politicians, journalists, or rival parties. This time, it came straight from the people face to face. And that matters. Because when the gap between official statistics and everyday reality grows too wide, trust collapses. Citizens stop nodding politely. They stop waiting for solutions. Instead, they confront their leaders directly, and that's exactly what played out here. The clips spread online like wildfire. Within hours, social media was filled with reactions. One post read, "Finally, someone told Khan what we've all been thinking. Enough excuses." Another viewer countered, "This just shows how divided London has become. The anger is real, but shouting won't fix it." Journalists covering the event described the atmosphere as tense and volatile. One political commentator said, "This wasn't just heckling, this was an eruption of frustration that Khan struggled to control." And even within labor circles, whispers began. One insider admitted, "It's worrying. You can't dismiss this as just a hostile crowd. These are our own voters losing faith." Now, let's take a step back. This isn't just about Khan. This is part of a much larger story, one playing out not just in London, but across the globe. We're living in an era where citizens are increasingly impatient. Where politicians can't hide behind speeches and press releases anymore. Where social media amplifies every confrontation, every stumble, every awkward silence. And what's happening in London mirrors what we've seen in other cities. People want honesty. They want solutions. They want leaders who don't just defend their record, but actually acknowledge the pain and the struggle citizens face every day. When leaders fail to do that, moments like this happen. And they don't just vanish, they echo. They spread. They shape public perception. For Sadiq Khan, this confrontation is a warning shot. His opponents will waste no time replaying those clips, framing him as out of touch, unable to answer the tough questions. But the real risk isn't just political rivals circling, it's his own support base losing patience. If Labour voters in London, the very people who helped elect him, begin to turn their frustration outward in public forums, Khan faces a much steeper challenge than any party rival could create. Because once you lose the streets, once you lose the trust of everyday citizens, it doesn't matter how polished your speeches are. The anger doesn't go away. So here's the big takeaway. This wasn't just an uncomfortable Q&A. This was London sending a message. A message that patience is running out. A message that words without results no longer cut it. A message that the people want answers, real answers. And the question now is simple. Will Sadiq Khan listen, adapt, and bridge the gap with those he serves? Or will this moment go down as the beginning of an even bigger backlash? Because when the public starts confronting their leaders directly, When the chants drown out the speeches, the trust is gone. This might not just be about London anymore. This might be the start of a wider reckoning across the UK, and political responsibility and the cost of silence. Let us know your thoughts below. Subscribe and stay tuned because the next political bombshell may already be loading. What happens next may be the real story.